Jerry Seinfeld once said that a date was just a job interview that you may end up naked at the end of. In many ways, this is sort of true. A first date is less about love and romantic chemistry and more about what a person is like on a superficial and intellectual level. Do they have a good job? Do they share the same values as me? Are they physically attractive? We all weigh these ideas on a date, and we often compare couples that we see together out in public and wonder how sets of people ultimately ended up pairing with one another. Is the woman taller than the man? Do they both have similar BMIs? Do they have similar incomes, ages? All of that stuff. We all judge it when we look at couples. Dating, in many ways, is math, and the love, that comes second, if it comes at all. At least that is the cynical view Dakota Johnson has in her new film, Materialists. Hi everyone, I'm Joe from Create Context. This is the Weekly Movie Minute, and today we're talking about Materialist, the new A24 film from Celine Song. Writer and director Celine Song broke out in 2023 with her debut film, Past Lives, a charming and at times devastating tale of two old friends reuniting 24 years later at a point where their lives looked totally different than when they originally knew each other. It wasn't a love conquers all film, one where there's a villainous husband and a rogue knight in shining armor. Instead, it was a sweet tale of two people who had deep love for one another, but ultimately weren't willing to throw away the lives they built on some silly notion like lost love. It's a film and story that is uniquely un-Hollywood and made for one of the most poignant and relatable romance films in decades. Fast forward 2 years and Celine Song is back with another movie that has, in this case, a very typical romantic comedy setup, but is anything but a typical romantic comedy. Dakota Johnson stars in Materialists as Lucy, a high-end matchmaker working in Manhattan, setting up wealthy older men with conventionally attractive younger women. The film has some fun making jokes at these various tropes. There's a wealthy 48-year-old man who refuses to date a woman older than 29, and a 39-year-old female lawyer who can never land a second date despite being conventionally attractive and checking off every man's supposed boxes. As luck would have it, Lucy becomes the object of affection for what her industry refers to as a unicorn, an attractive, down-to-earth, over 6 foot tall millionaire played by the internet's favorite daddy, Pedro Pascal. Hank, Pascal's character, is sweet, charming, and completely vexed by Johnson's no-nonsense attitude and mathematical formula to the dating scene. It seems like a match made in heaven if it weren't for the reemergence of the equally attractive but less financially stable John, Lucy's ex-boyfriend played by Captain America himself, Chris Evans. If this all sounds over-romantic, soapy, and a bit sappy, it's because it kind of is. There is no getting around the fact that this is a romance movie at heart, but a very good one. Johnson feels born to play the gorgeous cynic that men can't help but fall over, and Pedro Pascal is playing the kind-hearted, sexy, wealthy man we all imagine him to be. Evans has ditched his heroic garb and instead plays a lovable, struggling artist, one with big dreams of performing on Broadway, but one who can't escape small 20-person theater productions that are distinctly off-Broadway. The three all have great chemistry together, and it's impossible not to root for these leads as they get further entranced in an all-too-familiar Hollywood love triangle. Around midway through the film, a new plotline is introduced. It's one that I won't spoil, but it involves two of Lucy's clients, and it totally changes the dynamic of this film. It's a very interesting beat, one that's handled exceptionally well by Song and her team, and one that feels like genuine motivation for Lucy to begin questioning the mathematical certainty with which she looks at love and dating. The movie stops being about a love triangle and starts being about what a person is worth. not just on paper in a spreadsheet, but the value they inherently hold as a human being. The numbers may match up, boxes may be checked, but that can't be the full story of two people's compatibility, can it? These are really interesting questions that are done exceptionally well here, much better than any reality dating show that pretends to, like Love is Blind. A person's worth and two people's level of attraction and compatibility, these are questions we as human beings have pondered over and analyzed to death. Materialist doesn't exactly change the game for these questions, but it asks them in a unique way that is both entertaining and, at times, heartbreaking. Celine Song is continuing to dissect the romantic dramedy, and she's doing so better than any filmmaker I know of. This film and Past Lives are both heart-wrenching tales that use real-life people struggling with everyday trials and refusing to give us clear-cut answers to them. I will say I was a bit disappointed in the ending of this film particularly. It's one that leaned a little too far into the sap and romance, but I think I'm probably going to be in the minority of that opinion. I would have liked to seen a little different outcome for Lucy, one that doesn't end with such a well-tied bow, but truthfully, that is a small quibble for a movie that is much better than its nice, neat epilogue would suggest. Materialist is the best romantic dramedy I've seen since Past Lives. I don't think this movie hits quite as high as her debut film, but that's an almost impossible bar to surpass, and her sophomore effort is still far superior than any Blake Lively-led Colleen Hoover adaptation you will see on screen. Romance flicks are often relegated to Hallmark original flicks or become so oversteeped in comedy that they rarely have the chance to say something meaningful. Celine Song is not just saying something meaningful, she's doing so with such grace and insight that it's impossible not to fall in love with these lovely films she's making. Thank you guys so much for hanging out at the Weekly Movie Minute. Again, I'm Joe from Create Context. We'll be back next week with 28 Years Later. I'm really excited for that. If you guys like this, please give us a subscribe. That would be super cool, and I'll see you next time.